Assalamualaikum to everyone. The topic of my presentation is human tract infection. I am Dr. Hamza Fulwani, MS Urology, CUT. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Start from the introduction. So first is what is the human tract infection? The infection is any part of the immune system, kidney, uterus, bladder, and urethra. It's called human tract infection. Mostly infection involve the lower urinary tract, bladder, and urethra. Women are at greater risk of developing urinary tract infections than men. So parts of the urinary tract, start from the kidney, are being-shaped beard organ either side of the spine. It is essential for moving excess water, potassium, salt, urea, and other substances from your blood. As it filters through, you can consider this substance waste product that exit your body in the form of urine. And the ureter carrying urine from the kidney to the bladder, and bladder holds your urine until you are ready to let it out. The ureter carries urine from the bladder out of the body. It is shorter in women, so bacteria can move through it more easily. The ureter is longer in men, so UTI is less likely to reach the bladder or kidney in men. This picture is showing the male and female ureter. Now come to the development of the system. In fourth and fifth week of fetal life, the intra-embryonic mesoderm of the pronephron, mesonephron, and metanephron. And pronephron has no function, so it can be degenerated. And but the mesonephron is the out extension to the metanephron. This out extension is called uterine bud and form the kidney and ureter. But the bladder is formed by the cloaca. Cloaca is the part of the hinder. It divided into interior and posterior part, and the anterior part of the cloaca is called bladder. X and B. So, I come to the etymology of UTI. In newborn up to 1 year of age, UTI is present in 2.7% of boys and 0.7% in girls. The incidence of UTI in uncircumcised male is higher than circumcised male. In children between 1 and 5 years of age, the incidence of UTI in girls increased to 4.5%, while it decreased in boys to 0.5%. Most UTIs in children younger than 5 years are associated with congenital abnormalities of the ureter, such as lipoureteral reflex or obstruction. The incidence of UTI remains relatively constant in children 6 to 15 years of age. UTI in these children are more likely to associate with functional abnormalities of the ureter, such as dysfunctional voiding. During adolescence, the incidence of UTI significantly increased to 20% in young women, while remain constant in young men. Approximately 7 million cases of acute cystitis are diagnosed yearly in young women. Although 50% of all UTIs do not come to medical attention, the major risk factor for women 16 to 35 years of age are related to sexual intercourse and alcohol use. For women between 36 and 65 years of age, gynecological surgery and bladder prolapse appear to be important risk factors. In men of the same age group, prostatic hypertrophy, obstruction, sterilization, and surgery are related risk factors. For patients older than 65 years, the incidence of UTI continues to increase in both sexes. Incontinence and chronic use of uric acid are important risk factors in these patients. In those younger than 1 year and those older than 65 years, the morbidity and the mortality of the UTI are the greatest. And this is chart showing the etymology of UTI by age, which I discussed above. And we see that the 16 to 35 year of age of women is more prone for the UTI, and that is the structure is sexual intercourse and alcohol use. Now the classification of UTIs. The type of the UTIs, the upper and lower UTI, symptoms and asymptomatic recurrence is sporadic and repeated, and complicated and uncomplicated. So in non-uterine infection, the urethritis, cystitis, and prostatitis. In upper the pyelonephritis, intrarenal and perinephric abscess. And so come to the pathophysiology. The pathogenesis, the bacterial entry. There are four possible modes of bacterial entry into the genital nuclei. The number one is the periurethral bacteria ascending into the nuclei caused most UTI. Pyelonephritis are caused by the ascent of bacteria from the bladder through the uterus and into the renal canal. And this shows the state of the urinary infection start from the mostly urethra and the bladder involve the uterus and then kidney. And the one more picture showing the ascending route of infection, showing that the from become because we know that the E. coli is fell out on the fecal medium. So in female is more prone to the short of the urethra, the more chance of UTI to the urethra and then sent to the site bladder or cystitis and ureter and then kidneys are finally. The other ones are the pathogens that can occur more in immunocompromised patients and in neonates. If I focus on this, Candida species and mycobacterium tuberculosis are common pathogens that travel through the blood to infect the urinary. The pathogen is separate through the rectal, chronic, and the periuterine lymphatic has been constituted cause for UTI. And fourth one is the direct extension of bacteria from adjacent organ into the nuclei can occur in patient intraperitoneal abscess or lymphointestinal or lymphochannel vesicular. And more, the pathogen is the unit in retention, stasis, or reflex of the urine into the upper urinary can promote bacterial growth and subsequent infection. Any anatomic or functional abnormalities of the urinary that impede unit flow can increase the host UTI. These abnormalities include obstructive condition at any level of urinary, neurogenic disease affecting the function of the lower urinary. The presence of foreign bodies like such as stones, catheters, and stents allow the bacteria to hide from this host defense. Now, come to the host defense. The host defense factors have an essential role in the pathogenesis of UTI. Unobstructed UTI flow with the subsequent washout of the sending bacteria is essential in preventing UTI. Urine itself has specific characteristics, its osmolarity, urea concentration, organic acid concentration, and pH that inhibit bacterial growth and colonization. It contains factors that inhibit bacterial pathogens such as M-phosphol glycoprotein. HG helps eliminate bacterial infection from the urinary and act as a general host defense factor against UTI. As the name is showing that is a protein in nature. They have two major functions of that phosphol protein. One of them is the inhibit the calcium crystallization, and other one is the agents of bacteria, which is it is present in human of the group of candidate shown in diagram. And other consequence is the streamlining. The urinary not only provide a physical barrier to infection, but also has the capacity to recognize bacteria in order to initiate consequence. The eukaryotic cells express cell-like symptoms that engagement by specific bacterial components lead to production of inflammatory mediated intermediate gate. Specific serum and unique antibodies are produced by the kidney to cause bacterial optimization and phagocytosis to inhibit bacterial pathogens. Blood group antigen may constitute one group of these compounds that inhibit bacterial pathogens. This finding would suggest a genetic predisposition for UTI. Other important cause prostate and in women, the normal flora of the pelvic area, composed of organs such as liquid vessels, provide a defense against the colonization of the uropathogenic bacteria. Inflammation in the peritoneal environment, such as change in the pH or estrogen level, the use of antibiotic can damage the peritoneal flora, allowing the uropathogens to colonize and contribute to the bacterial pathogenic factor. Not all the bacteria are capable for adhering and infecting the ureter. Many strains of Escherichia coli, the uropathogens belong to a limited number of OK and H0 groups. The serogroups of OK and H have increased adherence properties to uroepithelial cells, resistance to the bactericidal activity of human serum production of immunoglycin, that is the exotoxin, and the increased expression of a K capsule antigen. E. coli adherent to epithelial cell is mediated by ligand located on the tips of the bacteria. Vibria, the ligand binds to the glycolipids or the glycoprotein receptor on the surface of membrane of uroepithelial cell. And the P. vibria are also known as the polyphyletic associated villi or the P. villi or F are found on the surface of many E. coli bacteria. The P. vibria is considered the most important virus factor in uropathogenic E. coli and play an important role in upper urinary infection. P. vibria mediate adherent to host cells. A key event in the pathogenic of urinary infection. This is the issue of E. coli, which is a different risk factor. The vibria is adherent and the toxin and the evasion. The pathogenic factor. Uropathogenic E. coli colonize in urinary tract and prevent bacterial removal during maturation. The binding of P. vibria to epithelial cells is mediated by Ppidium, FG, four different alleles of FG, which bind to different glycolipid structure for host cell. In humans, especially variant FG2 and the P3 converted on human epithelial cell. Most E. coli strains causing pilonephritis, bacteremia, and the urosepsis produce people alike with FG2. FG3 bind to isoreceptor present in the urinary tract of human. E. coli strain carry the FG3 gene are associated with lower urinary tract infections, cystitis, and asymptomatic bacteriuria. And chart showing the FG2 and 3 is causing the urosepsis 70% and the pilot effect is 60%. And G3 is 20% pilot effect and 20% is cystitis and urosepsis and is 10%. More uropathogen E. coli strains produce hemolysin, which initiate tissue invasion and make iron available for the infecting pathogen. The presence of the key antigen on the invading bacteria protects them from the phagocytosis by neutrophil. These factors allow the infecting pathogen to escape the various host defense. Now the causative.
Now, just one moment, please. Hamza, you have very elaborately and in very much of a detail, you have explained the whole topic of the virulence and the host factors. Normally, it's a balance between the host factor and the virulence of an organism. And when this balance is tilted, whether it is because of any anatomic abnormality or whether any physiological or pathological process that goes on, for instance, the pH of urine, or in any way there is a disbalance in the homeostasis, you can always expect something from the bacterial colony to come up with. And the way you have expressed all the factors related to to bacteria, I think it is very important to go through again and again, because this is something which is very interesting, and that was probably the reason why I didn't just didn't intervene when you were speaking about this aspect of UTI. So my plea to all my friends is to please go through the initial slides again and again, because that, if understood, is the basis of um, treating and understanding infection, particularly UTI. And mind you, what we do in urology these days is most of our activity is actually hovering around the this topic of UTI. Either we want to have a patient for surgery and the patient harbors an infection, so we want to do away with infection first and go towards surgery, or the surgery has been done and the person goes into sepsis, for instance, and then we have to look for strategy to apply and keep our patients away from infection, or just pull the patient away from sepsis. So this topic of pathogenesis of UTI is very important, and the factors that have been pointed out again are much pertinent.
Parasitic pathogens, most usually are caused by a single bacterial species. 80% of uncomplicated cystitis and pyelonephritis are due to E. coli. Other less common neuropathogens include Klebsiella, Proteus, and the Enterobacterial species, and Enterococci. In hospital, acquired UTI causative organism is found including Pseudomonas and Staphylococcus species. UTI caused by Staph aureus, lack of metagenes dissemination. Group B, beta hemolytic streptococci can cause UTI in pregnant women. Staphylococcus sporopeticus, due to the urine contamination, can cause uncomplicated UTI in young women. In children, the causative bacterial spectrum is slightly different from the that of adults, where with Klebsiella and the Enterobacterial species more common causes of UTI. This is showing the latest study. The 1 year UTI in USA looks like more common cause of UTI is the E. coli, and the other one is the Klebsiella.
Interesting.
Which is showing the
That was interesting.
can I start?
जी जी.
And other also which is showing the UTI causing organism as E. coli 63%, Klebsiella 50%, and Pseudomonas 5%, Proteus 5%, other gram-negative bacteria, Staphylococcus and Enterococcus. And one more which is showing the most common cause of uncomplicated urinary tract infection. Mostly the gram-negative bacteria, more than 84% cause the UTI, and gram-positive bacteria less than 15%, and non-bacterial is less than 1%, is Candida, Chlamydia, and Mycobacterium. And this is flow chart is showing the pathogenesis of UTI. Start from the colonization of the neuropathogen in urethra. It penetrate into the bladder, cause cystitis, and then go in case of AIDS, reach to the prostate gland, cause prostatitis, and ascend in infected kidney, pyelonephritis, stone, acute kidney injury, neurosepsis, renal failure, and if we infected the blood vessels, causes rashes, diarrhea, hypertension, sepsis, and medical cause failure, and ultimately cause death. One more which is showing more repeat the UTI, which is the low tract infection bladder and it's a bladder infection called cystitis, and the persistent and recurrent UTI is chronic cystitis and chronic UTI, and in kidney is pyelonephritis, in urethra is nephritis. And uncomplicated UTI is considered to be an infection in a healthy patient who has no special and functional abnormalities in the urethra. Complicated UTI is more complicated. It's typically referred to an infection associated with anatomic or functional abnormalities of the urethra. This is ORENUC classification based on clinical presentation of urethra infection, UTI and risk factor. The side O means the non-cause associated risk factor is a healthy menopausal woman, and the recurrent UTI risk factors, but no risk of severe outcome. The example of the risk factor is the sexual behavior and the contraceptive device hormone deficiency in postmenopausal. Secretory type of certain blood group controlled colitis, and he is extra urogenital risk factor with risk of more severe outcome. Pregnancy and age gender due to the androgen hormones and hepatic control diabetes and mellitus, prevent immunosuppression, connected to disease, prematurity, and premature newborn. Nephropathic disease with risk of more severe outcome, renal insufficiency, and polycystic nephropathy. Urology clinical risk factor with risk of more severe outcome, which can be resolved during cropping. Little obstruction stone and little obstruction stone and stitcher transit short-term impact catheter, asymptomatic bacteriuria, control neurogenic bladder dysfunction, urological surgery. Last is a permanent urine catheter and non-resolvable urological risk factor with risk of more severe outcome. Long-term urethral treatment, non-resolvable urinary confliction, battery control, neurogenic bladder. Non-recurrent UTI. Recurrent UTIs are symptomatic UTI that follow the resolution of an early episode, usually after appropriate treatment. They are common among young women and anatomically and physiologically normal urethra. Recurrent UTIs can be diagnosed clinically without performing a urine culture. Also, urine cultures are essential in engagement. For women with recurrent UTI, imaging of the upper urethra and cystoscope are not routinely recommended for evaluation. It should be performed without delay in patients with atypical symptoms such as obstructive symptoms or presence of hematuria after the duration of infection. Non and a possible age-related risk factor for recurrent urinary infection in women. The first is the young and pre-menopausal woman. The risk factor is the sexual intercourse, use of spermicide, a new sexual partner, a mother with a history of UTI, during childhood. Postmenopausal and adult women, the history of UTI before menopause, urinary incontinence, atopic vaginitis due to estrogen deficiency, cystoscope, increased post-partum pneumonia, blood group antigen urinary secretory status. Now the prevention of the recurrence UTI. We know that if more than 3 episodes of UTI per year, that more than 2 episodes in 6 months with called the recurrent UTI. For the preventing the recurrent UTI, the avoiding of spermicidal or diaphragm, frequent or complete voiding, immediate voiding after sexual contact, good hydration, low dose antibiotic profile. And the types of uterine infection, specific signs and symptoms.
No, if we just stop is at this point and let's discuss what are the different groups or rather, what are the different kind of presentations that we deal with urinary tract infection in our daily clinical practice. Now, you see, whenever somebody comes to you in clinic, the person has to have either a male gender or a female gender. So as a clinician, the first question is, what kind of a person we are dealing with. Kind means what kind of a gender the person has. The second is, what is the age group. Now, when these two things are there in front of you, your mind should start working on certain aspects of age as well as gender. For instance, if the person happens to be a young female, meaning to say 18 years old, then there are certain conditions which might lead to infection. And those conditions should be at the back of your mind when you want to ask certain direct questions. So whenever we take history, this is a common practice that we ask certain questions which are direct questions and certain questions which are indirect questions. Now, by direct question, I mean to say that whenever 18-year-old young female comes to you with UTI, you want to know what kind of activity, daily activity she is following, whether she is a school, a college going girl, whether she is a lady who happens to be in his house, whether she is married or unmarried. Now, every aspect of social life and physical being has got its own baggage, a baggage of certain things attached to it. So it is very necessary to understand the social setup in which you are working. Uh, Pakistani society has got a different complexion as compared to a Western society. For instance, all those points which are related to, for instance, spermicidal, use of diaphragm, so things like that, these are the questions which might not be possible for a greater population in our culture. But that's a reality, maybe in the West, a reality for a large population of people, for the majority population of female gender. But this kind of literature that we read, that will always be taken into consideration in the light of the setup in which we are working. What I'm stressing at this point is, whenever you want to practice in any hospital, in any city, in any part of your country, the thing that should be in your mind should be that where you are standing, what class of society you are actually working with, what class of patients are there. So when this thing was actually interrupted, I was talking about the aspects that have to be taken into consideration whenever you deal with a patient in particular. In particular, a girl who happens to be 18 years old. So this is just a random sort of example that I am quoting. Whenever you want to deal with any patient of any gender, of any age group, again, what I want to stress at this point is, always take a lot of factors into discussion and before deciding what kind of treatment a particular person should have. Infection will not occur without any cause, and that is for sure. You have to look for the cause. Otherwise, if you want to hit infection with an antibiotic without looking for the cause, the infection will remain be there. It will come again and again, and that you call recurrent UTI. So first you have to think a little bit about the causation. For instance, there might be an anatomical abnormality. There might be a history of spinal injury. Now that spinal injury will be affecting the activity of the bladder, the continence mechanism, and things like that. So this all comes into play whenever you want to take a bigger picture of treating urinary tract infection. So make it a habit that whenever somebody comes to you with a urine culture report, Don't just have a knee-jerk response in prescribing a drug for infection. What you need is, and what the patient need is a little bit of mental exercise, a little consideration, a little bit of time, maybe 5 minutes or so. Just look into the background, why this infection has occurred in a particular person, why it hasn't occurred in that group of people who have got the same age and the same gender. Maybe there is a difference. Maybe there is a difference in anatomy. Maybe there is a difference in physiology. Maybe there is something which is related to the work environment. Maybe there is something which is related to the physiological activity, for instance, pregnancy. So things like that. Always give a little bit of time and think before just writing down a pill. That's my understanding and clarification of this subject. Yes, please go on. Hamza, you can proceed.
So the types of infection specified and symptoms start from the kidney, the acute pulmonary the patient gain the sign and symptoms of upper back and flank pain, high fever, and shaking and chills, nausea and vomiting. Now the acute pulmonary which again showing the patient gain the sign and symptoms in the fever, chills, dysuria, anxiety, flank pain. Now, mostly the microorganism which cause acute pyelonephritis is 75% to 95% E. coli, Proteus, and Klebsiella. And descending is less common as septicemia in infected enteritis. Another specified and symptoms thought to bladder is cystitis. It became pressure and lower abdominal discomfort. You can see painful urination, blood in urine. In case of cystitis, burning and urination and discharge. Which is showing cystitis, normal bladder and congestion. Now come to the diagnosis and treatment. The diagnosis of the UTI starts from the history, physical examination, and lab parameters. Urinalysis with microscopy of for WBC and bacteria, urine culture with sensitivity, diagnose acute and complicated cystitis in human based on the history, examination, and urinalysis. Urine can be immediately added for leukocyte. The states are compound produced by the breakdown of white blood cell in the urine. Usually, nitrate is produced by reduction of nitric nitrates by many gram active bacteria. Steroids and nitrates can be detected by a urine district are more reliable when the bacterial count is more than 1 lakh urine formation per milliliter. Steroids and nitrate blood and protein are absent in the urine sample. Less than 2% of urine sample will be positive by culture. It provides more than 90% negative predictive value and sensitivity of 28%. And a chart showing the sensitivity and the specificity of the urine analysis, which is showing the steroids is the specific is the 87% and nitrate is the 98% specific, but the sensitivity is the 49%. But in the case of state and the nitrate both are positive, the specificity is more than 98%, and if the only WBC is present, the specificity is the 86%, and the bacteria is present, the specificity is 92%. If you like the site of infection for upper unit tract localization and the pattern is indication is sterile water and with the gets the A specimen is collected from the renal pelvic. Culture of this specimen indicate the infection in the upper urinary tract is present. In man, infection in the lower urinary tract can be differentiated. A specimen is collected at the beginning of vomiting and present possible infection in the urethra. Midstream specimen collect and present possible infection in the bladder. For the prostate and the patient is fine. Again, this specimen present the possible infection of prostate. This is a different side. Now the urine culture. Gold standard for identification of UTI is the quantitative culture of the urine. For specific criteria, the urine should be collected in a sterile container and cultured immediately after collection. If culture is not possible, then the urine can be stored in refrigerator for up to 24 hours. The sample is adequate and separate on the culture plate. Finding in the urine formation unit related that present clinical significant infection can be detected. Depend on the method of collection, the sex of the patient and type of the material. This is the interpretation after before all the information that presented, and this is the last project and the presentation. This is the flow chart for the diagnosis and treatment of the urinary infection. If we take the less than 3 months, we sample urine sample should be sent for urgent microscopy and culture and initiate the treatment. If the children in the child, the age is more than 3 months to the 3 years, the specific urine symptom start the antibiotic treatment and the urine sample for the urgent microscopy and the culture. Non-specific symptoms for the UTI, high risk of the sixth illness, start antibiotic treatment and send urine sample for the urgent microscopy and the culture. Intermediate or the low risk of the sixth illness, urine sample should be sent for microscopy and culture. Start treatment if microscopy and culture are possible. The child for the 3 years, the perform urine dipstick test. Positive for leukocyte state and the nitrate diagnosed UTI. Start antibiotic treatment. Send urine sample for culture only if the patient is intermediate or high risk of serious illness or has a history of UTI. Negative for leukocyte state and positive for nitrate. The start of antibiotic treatment and send urine sample for culture. Depending on the urine culture result. Positive for leukocyte state and negative for the nitrate. Send urine sample for microscope and culture. Start antibiotic treatment only if there is a good clinical evidence for UTI. Treating evidence on the urine culture result. Negative for leukocyte is and the nitrates is no other cause of pain. And the other one more criteria for the diagnosis and of the UTI. If the symptom is more than 3 dysuria frequency, suprapubic tenderness, urgency, polyuria, and urea, and no vaginal discharge or irritation, 90% culture are positive. Get medical antibiotic treatment. And if mild and less than 2 symptoms of UTI, okay, and urine specimen, urine not only 97% negative, very consider other diagnosis. Urine chlorine perform urine dipstick test and nitrate and reading test rate for the time divided by the infection. Positive nitrate and leukocyte and the blood type 2% positivity value and positive or positive nitrate alone from UTI mostly is UTI. Treat with the first line antigen on the local measure of the infection, right? And negative nitrate and positive leukocyte, UTI or other diagnosis equally likely. Especially taking warning is more liable. Treat if serious symptoms or consider delay antibiotic negative nitrate leukocyte at blood 76% negative predictive value or negative nitrate and leukocyte positive blood or the protein. Laboratory microscopy and red cell is less sensitive than basic unlikely. Consider other diagnostics, visual and give advice on treatment options. There are other testing we use for the diagnosis of UTI is cystoscopy, ultrasound, CT or MRI. The recommended antimicrobial topic for acute uncomplicated cystitis. For the first choice for women, the fosfomycin and the nitroglyceride. Radio is single dose for fertilization and the nitroglyceride vitamin G6 deficiency and mineral. First rank for men the 6.5 milligram PDS nutrition of 7 days and the alternatives of oxygen and the cephalosporin. Equal to the distant pattern is the non-nuclear distal less than 20%. 40 was on 960 milligram BD. For women is medium for men and for men 70. There is some reaction for the drugs we use for the treatment of UTI. The retrochloroquine did a discussion in the exclusion hepatitis, rare peritoneal neuropathy, and for the adverse reaction is the rashes and crystal urea. For fosfomycin, was the antibiotic for the phenol, and anemia, and hypomagnesemia, magnesia, and the arterial toxicity, and the mental status, confusion, seizures, and those disturbance. For the epileptic reaction, seizure, particularly just dose adjustment for linear sufficiency. Minor glycosides, nephrotoxicity, neuromuscular paralysis with neuromuscular blockers. Most antibiotic cause the Clostridium infection. And recommended of antimicrobial antigen activation of the trophy based on the type of UTI. Diagnosis cystitis pathogen is E. coli, Klebsiella, and protease. Mostly used antibiotic is the methotrexate and sulfamethoxam and the cleanones for 3 days and for the pyelonephritis. The pathogen mostly caused by E. coli, protease, and the Klebsiella bacteria. The choice of the antibiotic is the glucoquinolone. Second is of cephalosporin, minoxidil for the 7 to 10 days. For complicated UTI, the more common pathogens are the E. coli, Enterococci, Pseudomonas, and the Streptococci. The first line is the quinolone, and second line is the minoxidil, and third definition of cephalosporin. The for recommendation is the 3 to 5 days after E. coli. For status, E. coli, bacteria, Pseudomonas, and Enterococci. First line again is the quinolones, and the second definition of the cephalosporin, third definition of cephalosporin. And we put for 2 weeks and for 4 to 6 weeks for epididymis, E. coli, the pathogen E. coli, bacteria, Enterococci, chlamydia, and the choice of the antibiotic is fluoroquinolone, and second is the second division of cephalosporin, and first is doxycycline, and for the recommendation is the division from 2 weeks. There is an antibiotic required dose adjustment for liver and renal disease. And if the renal clearance is less than 30 ml per minute, we need the adjustment of the glycosides to be collected. Such as suppose the writing and the certifying and tetracycline and vancomycin, sulfanoids, except doxycycline. And for the hepatic disease, elevated bilirubin, chloropenicol, tetracycline, chlamydia, hepatitis, and for the renal hepatic disease, ceftriaxone, and piperacillin, and dipyraceline, is all these drugs give the renal and hepatic disease. In renal and hepatic disease, we need to run this.
Just a minute. If you go back to the previous slide, again, yes, this one. You see, this is a proposal from a group which you are just showing us. But for all practical purposes, this policy of antibiotic prescription should be done with the consultation of the infectious disease department of any hospital. Now, this differs from area to area, from perhaps city to city, or from institution to institution. There is a thing called nosocomial infection, and there is also a thing called antibiogram. Now, what these two terms mean is there are certain infections which are hospital related, and that hospital related infection and sensitivity and resistance of the bacteria depends upon the antibiotic policy of that hospital. Now, whenever we are dealing with something as intelligent as bacteria, we always think that human beings have got an upper hand, and they will actually cause killing of bacteria, which we call bactericidal, by means of usability of certain drugs. The thing is, these bacteria might be primitive in nature, but they have got their own defense mechanism. And what they do is they become resistant to whatever chemical is put in front of them. So maybe a group of them will be killed, but there is another strain which will develop resistance to that kind of antibiotic. So this thing goes on and on for the past probably 100 years since the first antibiotic was introduced. Then that was penicillin in the last century, in the earlier part of the last century. Uh, Now, in 100 years, what the lesson is, we have to be very cautious. We have to be very intelligent in prescribing antibiotics. And the the idea is to put a lot of people into perspective, a lot of people who have got the knowledge of how these drugs are acting and what is the actual sensitivity and resistance pattern of the bacteria that are commonly present in, for instance, in our case, in UTI. So this policy must change every now and then, perhaps every 3 months or 6 months. That depends upon the hospital policy. But you see, uh, anything which is prescribed in textbook gives you just a guideline. What you are, um, uh, the intention of the hospital or anybody who wants to learn this process is to to work within the guideline and make their own strategy. What I'm stressing is this policy might be different from the one that is being shown on the presentation slide, and that will always take into consideration again the antibiogram, that is the sensitivity pattern of the drugs, and the kind of resistance that the bacteria is actually posing. Yes, Faizan, you want to say something?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
So I want to just share about the empirical routine we follow in UK. I think people get it, but I personally think that there should be no empirical thing in the UK, and we don't have evidence. We should practice the evidence-based medicine. What we have done people's success stories, and we prescribe it very and we make this. And now
Yes, I'm 100% in agreement with what you say. Yes, you want to add something?
Yes, but it's actually horrible and we sometimes after it's not good, right? Not that good.
Yes, and this is not only a problem with us in SIUT, this is a problem everywhere. If you want to go into the details of any hospital, you will find the same picture. Uh, Again, who has to be blamed? I think we, the doctors who practice day in and day out in clinics, in our outpatients, and without any, say, a minute or so, we always prescribe something. When we don't have anything to offer, we offer antibiotic. Uh, this practice has now backfired, and that has been backfired, as we have rightly pointed out and rightly said by Dr. Ali Nadeem, that now the antibiogram is too short. We have got not many drugs available. Nitrofurantoin is something which is again not commonly available in every pharmacy. So we are now stuck, and this is not only specific to SIUT. If you go into the literature and you see this thing on Google, you just Google it, and on internet you see what's happening in USA, you will find the same thing. You will find the same narrowing of the spectrum of drugs that you can use for UTI. Perhaps they would have strains which are totally resistant to anything available. So this is the next kind of a time bomb which we will be expecting very soon, maybe bigger than what we have like coronavirus, because viruses are something that goes off and they come on in waves, and they will um, remain on Earth for many years to come. But bacteria are something which are more intelligent and they have got the property of reproduction as compared to something which is a virus that is practically non-living. So that's a separate kind of a subject. We'll discuss it at later point. The second slide, I think after this slide, is again very important. Hamza, you just click yes, this one. Now, we have got a large population that brings us this kind of a problem of renal diseases and hepatic diseases. Many of us don't take into consideration that many of our patients are actually at the borderline. For instance, if they have got a staghorn calculus in one kidney, if you calculate, and if they are in obstructive nephropathy, if you calculate the GFR, if PCN is not placed, if the kidney is not decompressed, the GFR will be around about 50 ml per minute. If that is the case, and if you prescribe something for the infection without considering the effect on GFR, or you don't put GFR into the equation, you will have a lot of detrimental effect of the drug. The toxicity level will be there, and it will be different from the therapeutic value of the drug. So again, if you work in a hospital like SIUT, where you have got large population of patients with renal dysfunction and perhaps equally large number of patients with hepatic diseases, you must take these two disease aspects also into the equation of prescribing something which is as innocent as, for instance, Augmentin. So don't take these drugs as something which is harmless. They have got their harmful effects, because whenever they enter into the body milieu, they are confronted with one process, and that is elimination or metabolism. So either if metabolism is not proper, which means the liver is not functioning proper, or the elimination process is right. So sorry again for the interruption. So what I was just referring you to these two problems. One is the renal dysfunction, and the other one is the liver dysfunction. So if you take both the things into consideration, you will not be achieving the toxic level of antibiotic in the body, and that is very important. So I think I've made my point clear. if anybody wants to add to this statement and this reflection of mine, you are all welcome.
Sir, I have some questions.
Yes, please.
First of all, sir, is it necessary to know about the exact location of the disease where it is? Erythritis, cystitis, or pyelonephritis? If yes, which diagnostic modality is best to recognize that condition?
I mean, it's always a guesswork whether this infection is, for instance, what the evidence you have is only urine culture report, and the specimen is urine. So that urine is being produced in the kidney, and then it flows down through the ureter into the bladder. It stays a while in the bladder and then comes out through the urethra. So that's the whole process that we all know. Now, whether the origin of the disease is the renal pelvis, or is it the ureter or the bladder or urethra, that matters from some different angle. For instance, as I was discussing with you earlier, there has to be a cause behind urinary tract infection. So if you want to pinpoint the organ or the seat of origin of infection, then you will be able to do something for it. For instance, if urine culture is positive and on an ultrasound I see something in the kidney uh, in the form of ecogenic material, and that will give me indirectly an impression that this might be pus in the kidney, so this is pyonephrosis. So the infection probably is arising from somewhere within the kidney. If that is the case, then what I need is something to divert that urinary collection or the collection of pus from the kidney. If I allow that pus to drain down into the ureter and then into the bladder and then into the urethra, there will be always inoculation of bacteria somewhere down the line also. Now, if that pus happens to be within the kidney and the kidney becomes hydronephrotic, which we call pyonephrosis, there must be an obstruction in the ureter or somewhere in the bladder. And that obstruction is actually causing, again, hydronephrosis. So this is all in the pursuit of some evidence so that we can do something definitively. So you do a little bit of police work that will always give you benefit in addition to what you prescribe in terms of antibiotic. So that's my actually meaning of saying that you have to look for the evidence first and then you treat. Otherwise, you can treat it by all means, but if you have got the evidence, you will be treating it properly and I think in a more better way.
Okay, thanks, sir. One more, sir.
Yes.
Selection of antibiotics. We see culture and sensitivity report. We see 8 to 10 antibiotics which are sensitive to that bacteria.
Yeah.
So best selection, which antibiotic would be best for how it can be selected?
Now, to answer that question, you must have got the knowledge of bioavailability of that drug, that particular antibiotic, meaning to say how much is the minimum inhibiting concentration MIC of that drug within the system. For instance, there are certain drugs which are not concentrated and secreted in a greater concentration into the urine. So if you want to treat urinary tract infection, these drugs, if they are in the sensitivity panel on the report, for all practical purposes, they won't solve the problem. So to prescribe a drug, you must be able, or you must consult the infectious disease people to answer your question. Or if you have got a very intelligent pharmacist with you, you can ask this thing to your pharmacist, that I want to use a particular antibiotic, maybe it's penicillin, for instance, or cephalosporin, and my patient has got pyonephrosis. So is that a good drug for that kind of a problem? So what they would ask from the angle would be that this drug is enough concentrated within the system where you want actually this drug to act upon. So you can always take some opinion from your colleagues, either from ID people or from an intelligent pharmacist. Thank you. So anything from Noman, if Noman is here, because he's the one who is actually in between me and you. Yes, Faizan.
So what is the difference between recurrent and a relapse of LUTI? This both terms confuse me every time. Relapse and recurrent.
Yeah. You see, recurrent UTI means that no matter what you do, it comes on again. For instance, if you have prescribed a drug and then the infection is there, that is recurrent. Now, relapse is something which is after a very long time, which means that it has gone for actually 3 months and then comes on again, despite the fact that you have done a lot. And when we say a lot means you have not only prescribed and put into practice the antibiotic, but also some other things, for instance, decompression of the system, so that the urine can flow very easily. So relapse is once you have totally controlled the infection and then it recurs. So that is relapse. UTI is something, for instance, in those people who have got uh, enlarged prostate. Now, recurrent UTI will happen in those cases because if you do not do away with prostate, which is obstructing the urinary system, you will have the background uh, of infection because the obstruction is there. So once you treat that obstruction, then if there is another infection, then it will be called relapse. Otherwise, it is recurrent. This is my understanding. Right. I think we have covered a lot of ground in this presentation, particularly the earlier slides. Those were very, very important slides according to my understanding. And I stress upon you to just go through them again and again and try to figure out how much of them you understand. Because if you understand all those earlier slides of Hamza's presentation, those were very, not only very interesting, but also informative, and that forms the basis of the understanding of the topic. So congratulations to Hamza because he has put in a lot of effort, and we will delve into this topic again in more details when I post you, Hamza, another topic related to this infection in maybe in the evening, right, for your round 2 presentation. Because you have studied it properly, you have presented it properly in more clearer fashion. Almost everything you have covered. Now we just go into the details of the subject, and that would make all of us aware of the situation again more clearly. Right? Right. Thank you very much. So we'll meet again tomorrow, same time.